Gut, Namen allerseits bei Two-Rock. Ein Besuch, auf den ich lange gewartet habe, seit ich die Show mache. Trent Reznor von Nine Inch Nails. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Pleasure that you're here. I just confess that I've been waiting for that a long time, but the show didn't exist by the last time you put out a record. So after the 5-year plan, you're back with a new album called The Fragile. And we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
And about many other things. First video on the show will be The Perfect Drug. Any memories of that?
Yeah, that was kind of, as we get into it, I'll explain the time between Downward Spiral and The Fragile. And that was kind of right before I really had to deal with a crisis in my life and get to business with doing The Fragile. And I was looking for projects to kind of distract me or make me feel like I was busy at the time. In retrospect, I see that now. And this song was, I had a chance to work with one of my heroes, David Lynch. And it was the situation of when you're presented with the challenge of, in 1 week, write and mix a song that needs to fit this type of situation. And it was to write a song for a movie, for a particular mood. And in retrospect now, my feelings are a little, I'm not sure, this is probably not my strongest thing in my catalog of music. This would be what I'm not that I don't think is that great, really, with a critical eye. But as far as the video, I got to work again with one of my favorite directors, Mark Romanek, who did the Closer video for us. And he then further challenged me by coming up with a treatment that was me as a character in a gothic situation that I wouldn't do it now. I did it then. I see it. I'm not embarrassed of it, but it's not. I don't think any of what we did in this era is reflective in the new record, The Fragile. And
I agree, yeah.
I think it's for the better. So,
was it disturbing for you in a way that everybody was trying to interpret so much into the song of how about the next record will sound? It was a big talk, a big fuss.
Well, at the time I did this track, I didn't know what the new record would sound like. I didn't know. And looking at my own work as an artist, I realized at that time I was listening to a lot of drum and bass and jungle and stuff, and I think that was the most I've ever seen external influence come out in my own music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a transition period. That's what I want to stress. It was a period where I was feeling out what I wanted to do artistically. And given the liberation of working within a context of a soundtrack record, it's not like a major work. I always treated that as an area to kind of have less, or be freer, try things, you know, a little bit less importance. I'm glad it was in that context. There was never any consideration to include that on the new record. And it really was a spot where I was feeling out the landscape to see what I wanted to do.
We're gonna take it as such on the show. It's coming up now. Jetzt kommt Nine Inch Nails, The Perfect Drug vom Soundtrack zu Lost Highway. Zurück hier mit Trent Reznor von Nine Inch Nails und wir haben ja schon im ersten Take verschiedene Sachen angesprochen. Es hat 5 Jahre ja gedauert seit The Downward Spiral, dass jetzt The Fragile erschienen ist. Und Trent hat schon leicht angedeutet, dass private Dinge auch eine Rolle gespielt haben, wo es ihm nicht so gut ging, was das Ganze verzögert haben könnte. Aber es waren sicherlich noch mehr Sachen, die dann letztendlich dazu geführt haben, dass es 5 Jahre waren. Now we already hinted before that there were 5 years in between 2 records, and I guess it was not a 5-year plan in the first place. So when did you actually start doing this record?
Downward Spiral came out at the end of '94, and we spent 2 years promoting that record by touring. And the decision to do that was based on we didn't have any other really concrete means of promoting the record. So we didn't have radio, we didn't have MTV necessarily. So the only thing we could do is tour, and I thought we did that well, and I knew I could make the tour good on my own. So we toured and toured and toured, and the result of that was 2 long years on a tour bus where your world became a bit distorted, and you're surrounded by people that either kiss your ass, or we started as a medium-sized band in America. When we ended up, we were a big band. And I really didn't, my head was spinning when we got off that tour, and I allowed some external forces to kind of shape my own personality, and I became something I said I never would be. You know, I turned into someone I didn't like that much. And how that explains why it took so long to make the next record. It was 2 years spent touring. Then I finished that. I went right into producing the Manson Antichrist Superstar record, which took a lot longer than we thought it would. And that finished, and I found myself in a space that was a pretty bad place, actually, like emotionally and spiritually, where I was really just genuinely unhappy. And I've realized that as an artist, I have to draw upon a place where I have to examine myself and really try to understand why I feel the way I do about certain things, and have the courage to look into that mirror and see it. And now, in retrospect, I look back to that time, and I realized the last thing I wanted to do was do that. The last person I wanted to spend time with was myself at that time. So I did anything I could to not do that. I took on projects like Lost Highway, like Natural Born Killers, anything that made me think I was busy, but I wasn't really addressing the situation. And it took me getting to a place of like being at the bottom and really having the courage to face myself and say, you know, you got everything you ever want in life, and you're miserable. And that made me feel worse, because I had no excuses. Like, I got everything I ever dreamed I'd ever get, because I never thought I'd get it. I got it. And don't ever do that.
Totally. I mean, there's a few things that you just mentioned that I want to go into detail. And I'd say we have a look at the video.
Sure.
And then coming back. Ne? Wir sind gleich wieder da, weil das sind ja ein paar Sachen, die muss man schon noch ansprechen.